Hey, Greg here, founder of www.wrestling-divas.webs.com, your source for highlighting the most beautiful and deadly entertainers in professional wrestling. Thanks to everyone for tuning in via blogtalkradio.com for another exclusive interview on behalf of my website. I have a very special guest joining me right now. She has been a wrestler since 2009 and has competed all over the United States, for such companies as NWA, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and Wild Wrestling. But she has recently made headlines this year all over internet sites, newsletters, you name it, for she has received a tryout match with the WWE and shot a commercial for the company alongside former WWE champion Sheamus. I'd like to welcome my next special guest, Buggy Nova. Hi, Buggy. How are you?
Hey, Greg. What's up? I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for your time.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Well, the first thing that I would like to talk about is your tryout with the WWE. I mean, that's something to be real proud of, and you certainly must have had the time of your life against your opponent in that matchup, which was SmackDown diva AJ Lee, if I'm not mistaken. So what was that experience like performing in front of that crowd?
Oh, wow. Well, it was the tryout match that we had was in front of some of the superstars, and including William Regal and Matt Stryker was there, and just a couple guys helping us out. I saw Vicky Guerrero watching the tryouts and some of the diva girls, and so that was kind of the audience, if you want to say, and it was exciting. At first, I didn't know who I was going to wrestle because since I was the only girl at the tryout, I wasn't allowed to wrestle one of the guys. They said that they would find a girl for me to wrestle, and I didn't know who. I don't think they knew who. I think they were just going to go backstage and say, who's ready to wrestle or who wants to do, a 5-minute match real quick with this girl just trying out. So I was lucky enough that AJ came out and did it with me, and we had a real, simple, solid match, and I was happy with it, and I got some good feedback, so I couldn't really ask for more.
So backtracking a little bit to the beginning of your career, you've been a wrestler since 2009, so what was the kind of moment in your life that made you say that you wanted to be a professional wrestler?
Actually, it's funny because I never wanted to be a wrestler. I know that, everyone says, I grew up wrestling and I wanted to be a wrestler, when I saw The Rock or Stone Cold or whatever. But even though I was watching all those guys, it never hit me to say, I want to do that, or, I'm going to do that. And I was actually brought into the business as opposed to trying to make my way into the business. And it was through Diablo Joe and AWS that they gave me a chance to be a manager and a valet. So that's how I started, is I was kind of brought into it, and then Bart with AWS suggested that I start training just so I know the basics, and so I don't hurt myself and hurt other people. I should start training just to know the ins and outs, and just have a good foundation of what I'm doing and what I'm a part of. And then it was when I started training when I wanted to be a wrestler. Once I started, I was like, oh, man, I love this. I just wanted to learn more, and I just wanted to get good at it. And it was so much fun. So I never wanted to be a wrestler until I actually started wrestling.
So that training process, it is a very physically demanding process, and not many can survive the rigorous routines and whatnot. So I'm sure that you had some sort of idea of what it would be like before you entered, the whole training aspect of it. But now that you've actually gone through with it, were those perceptions changed, and what was that experience like for you?
Actually, I had no idea what to expect. When Bart told me, you're going to start training and, these guys are real good, he sent me to the Ballard Brothers, I had no idea what to expect, whether it was like a group thing or if we're all doing, matches or if we're just hitting each other for an hour. Like, I had no idea what to expect. So I went into it with an open mind and, I was pretty much ready for anything because my whole life I had been involved in sports, and I played soccer most of my life and volleyball and karate when I was younger. And so I wasn't really afraid of, am I going to get hurt or, what am I going to do if I can't do something right? I was just really excited to learn and to get in the ring and be aggressive. And so I think that's one thing that I had no idea of is how to be aggressive with your friend. You're training with your buddies, and you got to hit them in the face sometimes, and kick them in the face and hit them. And when I first started training, it was really hard to get over that and to kind of trust myself and trust them to be aggressive. I had to learn how to be aggressive and safe at the same time. So looking back, I think that was one of the little obstacles, but I mean, I love being aggressive now, so that's probably changed tremendously from when I first started.
So putting trust in your opponents was something that you found difficult at the beginning, and a lot of people find it difficult to trust someone that you're working with that you may not even know personally. So how did you get over that fear over time?
Well, practice. You do it 100 times all the time, and eventually you just kind of get used to it. And you build a thick skin. So, some people hit harder than others. Some people, need to practice more. You never know what you're going to get until you're in there with that person and you kind of feel them out. And so, practice makes perfect. You'll hear that a lot. Just do it 100 times and get ready for anything.
So moving on to your wrestling character, your wrestling character is very unique, and I think that's one of the things that people remember about you is that your character doesn't dress up, your character is very unique, and the dress is different, the look is different, the attitude is different. Your character is from Candyland, so how did you come up with the inspiration from your character? Is it more of an exaggerated version of you, or did you draw upon someone else to find inspiration?
Well, I like to say that from my character, it's me, but with the volume turned up. Like, it's not hard to put my Buggy face on because it's me. Somewhere inside of me, there's Buggy, and vice versa. But Buggy is just a louder version of myself. And I think as far as inspiration, I really like Baby Doll from Sucker Punch. And it wasn't until someone made me watch that movie, because I heard it was awful, and it was, but the characters were really badass. So I like Baby Doll because she's really, cute and really pretty, but she's badass. Like, who knew she could cut people's heads off with swords and stuff like that. So I kind of like that idea of, looking cute with a little bit of crazy inside of her, I don't know, with my tutu, it's like I'm a little psychotic with the tutu and, with the stars on me, but it's kind of cute at the same time. So that's kind of just my idea with it. And Candyland I got because I just loved Candyland growing up. It's one of my favorite games to play with my grandma and my brother. And so that's where that came from.
So having this character inside the ring, and a lot of wrestlers say that one of the hardest things to be in this business is unique, because it's so hard to find something quote-unquote original, or find something, in other words, that another wrestler already hasn't done. So how do you find your inspiration for being original inside the ring with the mannerisms that you display with your character and the moves that you do inside the ring against your opponent?
Yeah, well, I think it's, for me, as a woman in the business, I think any woman that is aggressive and in my mind, and I've told my trainers this, and I've told, people that I work with, it's like I want to wrestle like a guy. That's what I want to do. I don't want to wrestle like a girl because girls already do that. I want to wrestle like a guy. And I think having that mentality translates into the ring when I'm, being more aggressive or yelling, or my facial expressions. And I think that's kind of how it translates. And being unique, I like to think of I'm the best one that can be me. There's nobody that can be me better than I can. So with that, I take that with my makeup, with my costume, with my moves, with what I yell at people, with how I interact with the crowd. It's like if I want to say something or if I want to do this, I just got to turn up the volume a little bit and be a little more exaggerated, or let my walls down, not be so guarded and caring what people think, if I sit down and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this, it's going to be silly, or what if people don't like that? Like, I have to throw that out the window. Nothing matters. Like, it's very natural and an organic type of way. I just try not to think too much, basically. So if someone is worried about, I want to be more unique, then be yourself, find out more about yourself. And no one else can do that better than you can.
So a lot of times in matches, and especially with the smaller companies out there, they don't have the luxury to tape these matches and, post them on the internet, and you don't have the luxury to, look back at them taped and figure out all your mistakes. So that there's a big sense of the now when you're wrestling out there. So you have to take advantage of every moment, because once you do away with the match, there's never going to be another match like it. So how do you make sure that you make the most out of the in the moment aspect of wrestling a match?
Well, I wish I had someone with me to record every single match that I do so that I can learn from it. I don't have a camera. I don't bring a camera with me. Sometimes I know other wrestlers do, and they'll put it up. So if I'm in the match with a girl who I know is recording it, then, whatever. If I want to watch it, I'll watch it. But mostly I like to learn as I'm doing it, and then talk to my opponent after, and sort of feel the crowd and how the crowd reacted when I did this or when I said this. That's kind of how I learn. And then as far as looking back at things I want to do, like, oh, I felt like this was great and my drop kick was awesome, and I go back and someone was like, that drop kick kind of sucked. Then that's what I'll learn, and I'll go back to training and work on my drop kicks or whatever, do that type of thing. But I don't really watch my matches. if it's up or if I'm curious about it or if there's something different about the match that I wanted to see. Like last Freak Show Wrestling, I was with Techno Destructo from Guar. He was my tag team partner. Like I would watch something like that. But I don't know, I don't really feel the need to. I like to be there and learn in the moment, whereas looking back and kind of studying myself, I like to learn from the feedback that I get from the crowd and from my peers.
So, starting out with the beginning of your career, did you ever find it difficult to take some of these criticisms that the crowd or other wrestlers were giving you at the time? Because especially with the crowd, some of them can be very brutal and honest and straightforward.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, I think I only got constructive criticism from the back. A lot of the time, people I trained with or my actual trainers would be at shows with me, and so I was always open to hearing that criticism or the constructive criticism. And then as far as the crowd goes, I mean, I think they're pretty nice to me for the most part. Let's see. No, I was never really offended by anything that, someone said up in the crowd. It's always been a good time.
So when you're wrestling out there, and you switch between a face and a heel, depending on what company you're working for and what the given circumstances are, a lot of people say it's much easier to be a heel than a face because it's a much easier road to have people hate you than like you. So what is your opinion on this whole face and heel kind of debate, and which brings out the most in you, in your opinion?
Well, I definitely love being a face. I love being nice to people and having people cheer for me. And I love to show fire and, that kind of champion mentality of never giving up and firing up and getting the crowd behind you. And then, but I like being heel because I feel the heel has more control of the match. And a lot of the time, two people will have a match, and the more experienced one will be the heel. So I like that aspect. And then being the bad guy, I mean, I have a soft spot for bad guys and villains in my heart, so I really don't mind being one of them and being on the dark side once in a while. But it's really hard to be mean to little kids, just because I've worked with little kids before, and I have little cousins and stuff, and just like to see them really, really just get upset. I mean, because they're really into the shows and they're really into the characters. For you to not slap their hand or rip up their sign or something like that, it's real. I really have to get creative with being mean to little kids because I hate seeing them cry. So, but it's fun at the same time, to mess with the older crowd and mess with them and be a bad guy, and they keep me on my toes. If they shout something at me, I gotta shout something right back and kind of put them in their place. So it's fun. But either way, I love being both.
So this is the wrestling industry is a very tough place as far as the amount of opportunities open for talent. And as stated, you received a tryout match with the WWE earlier this year, but some people, don't get to that point. Some people go even further, although that's rare. And some people just get burnt out of the whole wrestling scene because, the injuries pile up and the mental frustrations are there. So what would you say to competitors out there, aspiring wrestlers who are just in a tough spot in this industry?
Well, as advice that was given to me, don't give up, of course. And a lot of the time, someone in the WWE gave me the advice of they're watching you, and sometimes they'll see how much you want this. You know, they don't want to just give it to you for free or hand it over to you. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll keep someone in their radar and see how consistent and persistent they are with wanting to be in WWE or watch them as they grow as a wrestler. So, I mean, you never know. I mean, crazy things have happened. Models will get hired if you're not a wrestler. So a lot of the time, if you have skill, and you have a good look, and you have charisma, you know, you have all the things on your side that WWE could use or what they're looking for, then I just wouldn't give up. If that's really what you want to do, if that's your dream, anything's possible, man. Crazy things have happened. But as far as people getting burnt out, there are people that in a lot of different opinions should be in the WWE, and they're not. I mean, that's just the way it goes. I mean, some people do get burnt out, and maybe it's just not meant to be. You never know. But, I mean, if your heart is really into it, you have to listen to your heart, because if you don't, I don't think that there's happiness there. So you never know until you try.
So, and this is a question that I like to ask all of my interviewees. If you could sum up your experience with the wrestling industry and performing in front of the crowd in just one word, what would that one word be?
That's a hard question. I want to say intoxicating. And I made that word up, but I'm going to use it. I've never used it before until now. But it's
well, I've heard a lot of made-up words when I ask that question, so I always like that creative side.
Good.
So when your career has run its course, and, you know, whenever that will happen, only time will tell, what do you want to be remembered for the most by your fans and the crowds who saw you perform?
I want them to remember me as putting them in a good mood or putting a smile on their face and always putting on a good show and trying. And no matter if I'm in front of 10 people or 1,000 people, I'm always going to put on a good show. So if I put a smile on their face, I mean, that's the best thing that I could ask for.
So before we wrap up, how can fans keep in contact with you and keep up to date with everything that you're up to?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I have like 4 or 5 different accounts on there. I'm under Buggy Nova, and I also have a group on Facebook called Team Buggy. Go Team Buggy! And I have a liked page, which is also Buggy Nova. And then, let's see, Twitter. I'm at Buggy Nova. And my personal website is www.iwantbuggy.webs.com. And that's how you can keep in contact with me.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Buggy, and I have no doubt
that you'll find
whatever you do. So I wish you the best of luck in everything.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks to everyone else who tuned in for this interview. Be sure to check out www.wrestling-divaz, and that's divas with a Z, .webs.com for more exclusive content. I have some big announcements to come in the next few weeks, so be sure to check out the Twitter for the website at Wrestling Divaz, again with the Z at the end. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a safe and happy week.